believe it or not, every day even I feel that something might happen and, I might not have my job. Eliminate people that are belonging to teams that do not generate revenue. Now, the thing is, will it replace jobs? Would you really trust ChatGPT to do like an autopilot content creation? So I will tell you something that's useful to build any skill, and you can translate it into AI, you can translate it to ML, etc. I didn't go to a top tier college. It doesn't define you, or it doesn't define how smart you are.
Artificial intelligence is killing our jobs. That is what we will be discussing today. Hello data lovers, and welcome back to another amazing podcast for all the aspiring data professionals. So recently we know two topics are very trending, ChatGPT and the tech layoffs. So I thought to bring someone who is closely building the platforms like ChatGPT and who can also talk about the realities of tech layoffs. So our guest will throw some light on the impact of tech layoffs on data science, AI, ML jobs, whether AI is actually killing our jobs. As a newcomer, how can even you start in the AI ML field with a solid portfolio? Plus, how can you be the best in this game? So lots of insightful discussions will be happening. So stay there for next 25 minutes and watch this podcast till the very end. It's a box of information. And before starting, hit the like button quickly, smash the subscribe button as well, and press the notification icon. Welcome Aishwarya, and thank you so much for joining me in this podcast. Really excited to have a conversation with you regarding AI ML related stuff, and our audience is also very excited. But it would be really great if you can give a short introduction to yourself and your academic background or anything about the professional background.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shashank. I'm really honored to be a part of this show. I've watched a bunch of episodes, pretty insightful. Um, I am an applied scientist. I work for Amazon Search Science and AI. So we basically work on making machine learning models to improve the search in the search trust in Amazon. Basically, the website that you see, we make sure that there are trusted buyers and sellers on the website, and we use machine learning models in order to do that. Yeah, I can probably speak about my educational background and all of that as we go by. Yeah.
How did you step into machine learning and AI, and from where did you actually start?
That's a very good question, because I did my undergraduate in electronics and communication, right? So I did not have AI or machine learning on my coursework. This is something that I picked up completely on my own. And the trigger for that was basically just a lot of buzz about AI and ML, right? Like people telling that AI and ML will be the next big thing and things like that. So what I did is basically attended a few sessions and some talks and conferences and whatever was freely available on the internet. I just watched it out, and it seemed like something that I would be interested in. And from there, I went and did Andrew Ng's course. I think that's where pretty much all of us start out, right? And once I did that, I felt that it's way more exciting and interesting than my ECE courses. No offense to people who actually like electronics, but I just felt it's not my cup of tea. But I had already registered in electronics, so there was not much I can do. So what I did instead is started attending courses that were taught in my institution and had to do with machine learning. And then I went and met a professor. I asked him if I can work with his PhD students and learn. And things just sort of started building up from there. I started picking up things. I started talking to a bunch of people in AI. And once I felt confident enough to go out there and put my skills, I started applying for internships, and things started just piggybacking from there. So that's sort of my exposure. So if I might say, my AI and ML exposure is sort of self-taught. I don't have any formal education, at least in my undergraduate.
I think your background and your journey would be an inspiration for them, that you can become a self-taught AI ML engineer or data scientist, whatever you want to be. So let me know in the comment section how many of you started your data science or AI ML journey in the same way Aishwarya did. What kind of impact these layoffs have created on data science, AI and machine learning job market, because these are and these were the most demanding job profiles in the industry. But this tech layoff has destroyed everything at this moment. So what's your take on that? What's the impact?
Right. So I think that the layoff has sort of affected every sector of tech, right? We can't really say that data science is only what is being affected. Um, what I think is that business organizations eliminate people that are belonging to teams that do not generate revenue. They're just cutting down their operational costs. So if you're in a team that is currently not generating a lot of revenue for the company, or you have very far-fetched kind of revenue generation roadmaps, which mean that you're working on some cutting-edge technology which might not show promise currently, these kind of roles are being eliminated. Again, this is a pattern that I have observed. I don't have data to back what I'm saying. It's just things that I've been seeing on LinkedIn. So if you really ask me if SDEs have a better chance at staying in companies as compared to, say, data scientists, I wouldn't agree, because I think you need to start looking at everything from a revenue perspective and a business perspective. If you were a business and you wanted to cut costs, what will you do, right? And you also need to think about, if you're a data scientist, are you working in a team where data science is the product, right? If you're working in a team where you are getting some insights from the product, you're doing some, analysis, post-analysis after production, and you're saying that these are things that you could do to make your product better, then probably you are someone who's adding additional value to that team. You're not the core person in that team, which means that role could be eliminated. But if you look at, teams in which data science itself is the product, you need to build a model, you need to, clean data, you're looking at the entire ML production workflow, and you belong to that core team where without data science, the product itself does not shine, then I would say that that's something that's an indispensable part, right? So we need to consider a bunch of factors. I would say that data science is not the only thing that's affected. It's just a lot of jobs, and this is sort of unprecedented. None of us know or would have known that this will happen. So given this kind of a condition, I just feel that we need to expect these teams where revenue generation is not happening to be impacted. So if you are a data scientist, I would say look at two things. Like, ask yourself, does your team work in the revenue generating sector, either directly or indirectly, right? Because many teams don't face customers directly if you're working in a product based company. So ask yourself if you're working in a revenue generating role. If not, what can you do to move to such kind of a position? Can you put yourself in a safer place given the situation?
So when it comes to work on impactful products, then definitely we need to target top-notch companies, and it's pretty much obvious because everyone dreams for 7-figure salary, and now you can also fulfill this dream, especially for the data science job profiles. This amazing platform Learnbay will help you to get a chance to work as a data scientist or SD in top-notch tech giants. This platform provides data science and full stack development programs dedicated exclusively to professionals, and the programs are conducted in dedicated live interactive sessions. And during the course period, your doubts will be resolved from industry experts in one-on-one dedicated doubt clearing sessions. So far, this platform has helped more than 10,000 plus professionals to have a successful and safe career transition with domain specialization. Here you will get IBM certified courses and capstone projects, which will definitely help you to get the salary hike of around 250%. With Learnbay, you will get a chance to work in top MNCs with the help of 100% job assistance features. Some of their alumni took advantage of these features and landed a job at Capgemini, Infosys, TCS, HCL, the math company, and many more. Obviously, you will be having a lot of doubts after hearing all this information about Learnbay. So you can fill this one-on-one free career counseling form, and you can put all your details here. I have provided the link for this form in the description. So check that out and get your doubts clarified in this free career counseling session. So what are you waiting for? Check the link in the description and live your dream. I think again a most trending topic, the ChatGPT. So recently, like, whole world was talking about AI tools like ChatGPT and many more, and everyone started saying that AI will kill our jobs, right? And I think this is not first time happened. Earlier, people also started talking about that AI will start killing our jobs. So is it really going to happen? If yes or no, then what is the reason for the same?
Sure. Again, disclaimer, these are my opinions only. I don't really know if I can predict things. But one thing about ChatGPT is that they have a very good PR game going on, right? There have been many other generative models that have come in the past, but people are just oblivious to it because they just think AI is a black box and it's not something that layman can or lay people can talk to. Now, it's just that even people who don't have any computer science background are able to easily communicate with ChatGPT, and that's why it feels so appealing because I can ask questions and it gives me answers. But if you really think of it, it's basically a self-supervised transformer model, and there have been predecessors of ChatGPT, and what it essentially does is learns a ton of information in a very contextual way. If you can call it a super smart Google search, right? Because previously, when you're doing Google search, it gives you a bunch of documents. Now, what ChatGPT is doing is it's also understanding those documents and picking up important parts for you. That's pretty much what it's been doing because it's trained on a ton of data. Um, Now, the thing is, will it replace jobs? I don't think so because let's take a simple example, right? Say you're a writer, you write a bunch of blogs and things like that. You create content. So, would you really trust ChatGPT to do like an autopilot content creation?
Absolutely not.
No, right? Because you have a personality, you have a psyche, you take some kind of implicit feedback from your audience. And all of this makes you creative. It separates you from a model because you have some cognitive abilities as a human. I think that is what lacks in generative AI, right? These cognitive abilities, these creative abilities, this personality that all of us possess is something that lacks. What I think it will do is aid humans. For instance, say you are repetitively doing some particular thing, for instance, sending an email, you will take help of ChatGPT. But the content, the idea is still yours. So I think use it as an extra, support that you have. Just the way people got used to using Google search, it did not really take away jobs. It just made boilerplate things more easy, right? Whatever you've been repetitively doing, it learns that very well. But any new creative ability, I don't think we're still at that stage because generative AI at this point is able to get the right kind of information that you want in a contextual manner, but is not able to generate something very creative, is not able to, do things at, say, a human level perception.
Okay. But I would also like to take the opinion from the audience. Like, how do you think about the Chat GPT? Did you try it out? Or if you ask anything funny to Chat GPT, please put it down in the comment section as well. So if a beginner want to start its AI ML journey, so what kind of crisp roadmap they can actually follow? Can you list down all those important things? Because you also know when you would have started, right, it could have been really difficult for you to figure out what are the important things and how should I actually start. Now you are experienced, you have seen that ocean, deep dived into it. So if you can help the audience with these crisp points, that would be really helpful.
Sure. So, shameless endorsement, I run a mentoring community, which is basically free of cost. I help a bunch of people find their mentors. So I've been asked this question multiple times, right? Like, what is the best roadmap to follow in order to get into AI? There are a bunch of resources out there, and now in this era of so much information, I think it's important to build a strategy to understand something rather than which resource should I pick up, right? So I won't give you a solution as to this is what you have to read and you'll be the best, because whatever I say today might not hold, say, even 2-3 months later, because technology is advancing at such a rapid pace. So I will tell you something that's useful to build any skill, and you can translate it into AI, you can translate it to ML, etc. And this is purely based on what worked for me. So feel free to sort of, play along with it. So it's called the 𝗪𝗶𝗁𝗔 pyramid, okay? And by 𝗪𝗶𝗁, I mean EFSE. Think of it as you're building a pyramid. The base of the pyramid is pretty important. And EFSE respectively stand for exploration, building foundations, specialization, and then exploitation, right? We'll go to through each of these. So exploration is where you actually identify what you want to build and what interests you. So when I told you that I moved to machine learning, it's buzz is definitely a thing, but if that's something that I do not want to work with for the rest of my life, then it doesn't really make sense to push myself to do it, right? It's something that I should gravitate towards, right? So take a few days to understand which part of the ML pipeline that you're interested in, right? You work as a data engineer, I work as a machine learning scientist, and there are parts of the machine learning pipeline which everybody can gravitate towards. You can probably be interested in MLOps, you can be interested in the machine learning platform itself, and things like that. So go to each of these resources and see what you gravitate towards. If there are 10 popular courses out there, do one lecture of each of these courses and ask yourself, can you wake up every day and do this course for the next X days? If it's something that you're forcing yourself to do, that's probably not something you're interested in, right? And once you get through that exploration phase and you've decided on a course, go to the next level of the pyramid, which is building your foundations, right? And when you build foundation, just do that course very rigorously and make sure you've seen every part of it. Now, I don't really have to tell you which course to choose because there are a bunch of popular ones out there. You know that there are good courses, but the problem here is to stick with a course, to sustainably do that course and to be consistent about it, right? And in order to be consistent, there should be some element of interest. You cannot push yourself every day to do something that you do not really appreciate. So while building foundations, something a lot of students do is I will go and watch a 2-minute video about SVM. I will go and watch a 5-minute video about linear regression, and I'll do this and I'll just get a very broad level overview of things. That is not enough. That is definitely not enough. It's so important to understand your foundations very well. And also, everybody has a kind of teaching pattern that they like. So just find that course, do every assignment of that course. And if you have even a small doubt, go out there and search. Ask ChatGPT for answers, right? You have these kind of tools. And once you're done with foundations, that's when you're ready to go to the next step of the pyramid, which is specialization, right? In context of, say, machine learning, once I did my Andrew Ng's course, I specialized in natural language processing. And how specialization is different is that you know the latest technology in that field. You know what our industry is doing, what our research scientists doing. And how can you have a sanity check to know that you have specialized? I won't say that specialization is something that you would, it's a finite thing. You won't end at specializing something. You can't call yourself an expert at any point because there's so much changing. But one sanity check is to just read a research paper or read an industry blog and see if you can understand it, right? And if someone throws a problem, about some NLP problem, right? You have to see if you can come up with a decent solution, if you can come up with some kind of an approach to solve it. That's when you know that you're in a good position to use your skills. And then the topmost part of the pyramid is basically exploiting your skills or using them or applying them. And this is where you reach out for opportunities, right? You go and endorse your work, you apply for research internships, you apply for industry internships. And a lot of us really undervalue the effect of cold emails, right? Just reach out to people. It's totally fine. You ask them and you tell them that this is how much I learned. And also have this baseline that it's important as to what you bring to the table. Nobody is sitting there to help you out. They also want to know how they can be benefited. So put that out there clearly. Tell them that these are the things I've learned. This is how I can help you out. And you don't have to start big. You don't have to apply abroad for a research internship. Go to your professor, ask them if they have any collaborators. Go to your seniors, ask them if they know someone. To reach out to these people who are accessible to you first and then build something, have some kind of experience and then piggyback on it, right? I had about 6 internships during undergrad and getting the first internship was the hardest for me, right? Because, I had no experience. It's a cold start. Nobody wants to trust my skills. But what I did is I worked with a collaborator of my professor because he was someone who vouched for me. I spoke to a machine learning professor in my, university, and then I worked with his collaborator because he was vouching for me. And after that, I basically piggybacked on my previous achievements. So then I applied to this NTU Singapore. It's basically one of the leading AI institutes there. And then after that, I had those credentials to apply to Microsoft later, and then I applied to University of Michigan and things like that. So getting that very first thing is hard. Remember that if you send in maybe 300, 400 emails, two or three will get back to you. But then that's what matters, right? Those two or three leads are what changes everything for you.
Since you talked about the internship and the jobs, and first one definitely very very hard, but we all know everybody dreams for the tier 1 companies, and we should definitely. So getting job in tier 1 companies is actually really hard, and especially when it comes to data science, AI and machine learning roles. So how can someone create a strong profile which will help them to stand out in the crowd? Also, please share some important tips to crack the tier 1 companies, because you also did that.
Right. So Shashank, there are basically three ways to do this, right? One is pretty straightforward. Do well in your undergrad, have a bunch of internships, then go to a master's or PhD, and then your resume will easily be picked out because you have all the necessary exposure. But there is a more unconventional way to do this, which is option two, which is endorse and network your work, right? Whatever I spoke about before, think about the exploitation phase where you need to really go out there and tell people that you're doing something. For instance, one of my Microsoft offers was because I had endorsed about one of my publications on LinkedIn, and someone reached out to me, asked me how it was, and then they had a connection with a recruiter who they gave me the link to. Right. So you don't really know what works. You should always go out there and make sure that you network with the right kind of people. And most importantly, endorse your work. I always keep saying that the secret to getting any opportunity is networking and endorsing. These two words are just wholesome in their own sense, right? And what you can do is build this research internships or even industry internships and also publish. Publication is a very good way to get into these applied scientist or machine learning engineer roles because it adds some credibility, right? And in order to get these publications, you need to collaborate, which means you need to either work under some professor or work under some PhD students. Initially, just reach out to some PhD student, tell them you're really interested to learn, and then get your name in that paper first. And then slowly you understand how do you publish, how do you make use, how do you write a paper and things like this. So the straightforward way is you have good credentials in terms of your university. But the unconventional, or I would say the most interesting way, is to go out there on your own, network, endorse, and make sure that when the recruiter looks at your resume, they see something standing out, right? It doesn't have to be university always. Although I will be wrong if I say that nobody cares about your university, go there and they will definitely see your resume. But this is these are little things that you can do on your own if you don't have that university tag or I didn't go to a top tier college. It doesn't define you or it doesn't define how smart you are. There are some things that just don't go your way at some point in time. So what can you do given the current situation? How can you sort of make the best use of it? The third option is also pretty unconventional in the sense that I don't really know how many companies allow for this, but say you're working for these top tech companies, you can always take an SD role or a generic role in an ML team, right? And then you slowly start collaborating with the ML engineers there, and then make it very evident for your manager or whoever is in the leadership that you have these ML skills. You're slowly transitioning into the ML domain. That way it gives you practical exposure. And I have seen a bunch of people in the US, I can't speak for India, who joined as SDs but converted into applied scientists, right? Because they have shown some capabilities that applied scientists have. So maybe reach out to people inside of your company and ask them if they have switched roles and how easy or difficult it is to do. At least companies like Google or Meta, Amazon, all of this allow for such kind of switches.
Everyone is scared about layoffs these days, right? We never know what is coming next. So what should be our focus area at this moment, right? Whosoever is pretty much scared about the layoffs part, what should be their focus area? And most important, how can they keep themselves motivated? Because this is the part which is very much needed at this moment.
Right. The anxiety is real, and believe it or not, every day even I feel that something might happen and, I might not have my job. But yeah, I think after these multiple cycles of layoffs, right, I've come to realize only one thing, that anticipate a layoff. It's okay. Like at this point, because as as far as the inflation rates won't go down, companies will keep cutting costs. Companies will keep reducing operational expenses. So, like I told you before, if you can put yourself in a safer position, which means that if you can move to a team where you're creating more impact, or if the team itself is generating revenue for the company, put yourself there. But if you can't, I think the most practical thing to do at this point would be upskill yourself and understand the full stack of whatever you're learning, whatever you're doing in your company, right? If you're a data engineer, understand what goes into, where your data goes, who is using it. And if you go and interview in another company, you should be able to give them a good picture. You should be a generalist is what I think, right? There are two kinds of people. They can be either generalists or specialists. In my opinion, given the current setting, it's really nice to be a generalist, which means understand the wide spectrum of your domain. And in the case that something happens, you should be able to quickly switch. And the other thing that you should always keep in mind is, don't get so deeply engrossed in what you're doing that you don't understand the breadth of things. You should always be able to translate your work from one application to another application. On an everyday basis, we're just working on very closed environments that we really don't come out and understand where our work fits into the pipeline and how we can translate it to another application. So take that time to always come out, think of it from a business perspective, think of it from a product perspective. Don't always be like, okay, this is my task, I'm completely done with it. And also remember that how much ever you know today is not sufficient information at all, because so much technology, technology is just growing at a rapid pace. So keep reading about things, keep upskilling yourself, and anticipate a layoff, because if you've already anticipated it, it's not a shock for you anymore. You're sort of prepared for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thank you so much for talking about all these things, and most important, the insights you have given about the impact, and plus how someone can move into the AI ML field. So pretty much insightful, and I hope our audience would have enjoyed it. From my side and from the entire audience side, thank you so much, Aishwarya, for spending time with us. It was lovely talking to you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Shashank.
So that's what I had in this podcast. I'm pretty sure you would have enjoyed every single information shared by Aishwarya. If yes, and you find it informative, then make sure to give it a like and share it with your fellow friends. Also, if you have any thoughts and if you have any opinions related to these topics which we discussed, feel free to put it in the comment section as well. I will see you guys in the next week with another amazing stuff. Till then, just keep exploring data.